First, thank you, Claire, for that amazing introduction and to Creative Time for having me here. I'm going to try to figure out this clicker. I'm going to share a project I worked on in San Francisco with the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art and the city of San Francisco between 2006 and 2009 called Victory Gardens. The project began as a utopian proposal to the city of San Francisco in the form of an exhibition, a series of actions, and eventually evolved into a city-supported initiative. The program was a plea to the city to reimagine the historic Victory Garden programs that took place between World War I and World War II in the United States. I chose to keep the name Victory Gardens as a way to reframe the implications of the historic program and to think about what victory might mean in a contemporary context of urban food production. So in looking back at the historic Victory Garden programs, many of the strategies used to enlist citizens in a food movement were quite inspired and even in a contemporary context, still very relevant. In 1941, the Department of Civilian Defense and Agriculture came together and created a very dense campaign of printed propaganda and programs to enlist Americans in the war effort as farmers. This program promoted the cultivation of underutilized space on all accounts. For example, in 1943, San Francisco's Golden Gate Park opened up 250 plots for cultivation. The government distributed seeds at low cost and promoted neighborhoods to open seed stores in garages and to open neighborhood tool sharing sheds. Churches were asked to open their kitchens to the public to facilitate canning and preservation. So between the inception of the program during World War II, between 1941 and 1943, 20 million gardens were planted in America, which accounted for 48% of our total food production in the country. And this was all happening in front yards, backyards, rooftops, and vacant lots. So in sifting through this historical archival footage, which is always romantic, I found this image. Maybe I'll get there. This image in the San Francisco Library in the History Department of a demonstration Victory Garden in 1943 in front of City Hall, which became very important in exciting the interest and support of many organizing bodies in this utopian proposal I was to present to the city. Historical precedent proved to be an important criteria in convincing city officials. Along with this campaign came propaganda made up of posters and pamphlets aimed at recruiting action on the home front. These are just a few of them, a lot of which were made by people that were part of the WPA. So in proposing a new Victory Garden program, I drew from the impact of these propaganda posters and the Latin root of the word propaganda, meaning to propagate, and created a body of work that served as tools to propagate interest in people and growing food in cities. These tools that I created, along with planting 3 home gardens, were presented in the form of an exhibition at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art in the form of a proposal to the city of San Francisco. Some of these tools were a pogo stick shovel, a bike barrow, a garden trike and gardener to deliver garden supplies and kits to citizens in San Francisco, a microclimate-specific seed library, a rainwater harvester and rain catchment system, an online garden registry which helped provide an inventory of active and potential food production zones, which ended up totaling around 1,800 acres of potential food production space. And here is a photo of one of the 3 gardens that I planted in part of this early pilot project to present to the city. This was garnered through an ad I put on Craigslist that I was giving away 3 gardens, which I received over 800 responses. In this small sampling of 3 gardens, I tried to illustrate the geographic, cultural, and economic diversity of the city. This garden that I'm going to show is a multi-generational Chinese-American family. I worked closely with them to develop a garden that would align with their diets and spare time. Since we did not speak the same language, we often communicated through scribbled notes, phonetically spelling out words that we needed to convey. So this is just a few of the pictures over the years, so they're still gardening. This was a year after we delivered 2 planter boxes and a drip system. This was 2 years later during the summer, where they have really expanded their garden and are in full production. And this was just last week, where they're propagating all of their food for their winter crops, and they have started a fog harvesting system of an intricate network of gutters and buckets that lead into a well that they've dug below the surface. So to expand upon these private backyard projects, I also organized a series of events in existing gardens, public gardens, to activate these as spaces of cultural production. So this was a one-day library in the Garden for the Environment, and this was an outdoor film screening as an example of those events. So I took this body of work to the city along with a request to re-inhabit or recultivate some of the spaces used during the World War II Victory Garden program, including the garden in front of City Hall. After many meetings and an overwhelmingly positive response from several organizing bodies, including the Homeland Security Department, who wanted to give us $250,000 and make bumper stickers that said, "Be safe from the Taliban, plant a victory garden." We didn't accept their money. We should have. I partnered with a city garden organization at this point because the city was interested in moving ahead on a program. So I partnered with the Garden for the Environment to develop a full-fledged San Francisco Victory Garden program, which included the funding for a backyard program, a larger pilot project to plant 20 gardens within the year of 2009, and a garden in front of City Hall, and a commitment from the city to support urban agriculture. Perfect. So in 2008, with a large network of collaborators, a garden was planted in front of City Hall, which galvanized a community of food producers that was called a Garden of Communities. This garden was funded in part by Slow Food Nation, designed by John Bella of Rebar, and tended to by hundreds of volunteers. The garden produced nearly 100 pounds of organic produce per week, which was donated to the San Francisco Food Bank. And in that same year, the city issued a grant to support planting of 18 home gardens. So here's some pictures, and I'm going to zoom forward. So in 2008, 2008, the city started a food council policy and a healthy, sustainable food executive directory from the mayor, and out of that has grown a very large community of urban farmers and gardens, which maybe I'll talk more about on the panel. Thank you.